Is it? Right, okay. There we go. For some reason, it's transcribing it. So when you get the recording, you might get this transcribed by the side of it. Anyway, so we're on duty 8, which are the online learning activities 22 to 24. So have you all done the activities 22 to 24?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. If you've all had a go, got a good idea of it. Yeah. So we're going to focus on duty 8, managing data and information. So this session is going to cover activities 22 to 24, and then we'll have a look at your learning that you've done, and then we can have chats about different aspects of it. So starting with activity 22, which is understanding data management. The activity focuses on understanding the principles of data management. It's about organising the importance of reliable data in setting priorities and improving outcomes. So our key points are to learn to identify relevant and reliable data sources and understand how understand how data informs decisions in health and wellbeing. So the aims are to understand population level data and explore tools to monitor changes in health and wellbeing. And the objectives is to identify data sources, apply tools to monitor trends, and use the findings to inform decisions. So hopefully by focusing on these objectives, you'll gain practical skills that support effective decision making. So the first thing we're going to look at is the population level data sources. So this should highlight the different types of data that can support health improvements. So for example, include national health surveys, the local health records, and then these data sets help identify health priorities, measure outcomes, and allocate resources. So by using these resources, you can ensure your decisions are based on accuracy and relevant information. So do you use any of those or any of those data sources you might use? You probably do, don't you, James? Like the national health surveys?
Yeah, we use quite a lot of data really to inform what we do. We use the National Child Weight Measurement Programme data, which obviously measures children who are in reception age in year 6 to identify if they're above a healthy weight. And then that enables us to target specific schools or specific communities around one specific project, which is a family focused kind of health and wellbeing project.
Yeah. Do they still use BMI though? Is that?
They use.
Did you feel like that's outdated a bit?
Oh, massively. But it's the only, well, I say that, it's the easiest to administer from a school nurse's perspective. So if you think about Warrington's got 72 primary schools. You've got kind of a whole year 1 to do and a whole year 6, and there's 2 school nurses that do the whole measurements for the whole town. So actually, if you were to look at maybe some of the more accurate measures, things like skin folds and things like that, you start getting into some ethical kind of conversations and then kind of additional time it takes. Whereas actually, if you're a school nurse, you kind of ask a child to stand on the scales and you measure their height, and then you plug it all into a database, and it's a nationally kind of nationally led program, so you can benchmark it across other areas in the whole country. So yeah, there's many things that I disagree with it around, but it is kind of the largest scale measurement program we have for child health at the moment. I hope it does change.
Anyone else use anything different? What about you, Caitlin? Do you use any sort of national health surveys? Oh, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
The only one that we use is one that we call SwimWebs, which is set out by, because we're funded by Public Health England. So they kind of capture, they're kind of like the GAD7s and the PHQ9s, where they do a snapshot of where people are at when we first engage with them, and then we do them in like 3 month, 6 month, 9 month intervals. But they're the only ones that we really do just to kind of gauge the intervention, because our interventions aren't on like a health metric or things like that, or a mental health metric. It's more just on kind of like social well-being and general like
Yeah.
lifestyle improvements and things like that, and everyday stresses that bring down and things like that.
So how do you ensure the data you use is reliable and up to date then? So what sort of stuff would you use, Jamie?
You mean the data that's collected through surveys and things?
Yeah.
I guess just kind of researching, keeping your research up to date, and yeah, just regularly doing that.
Yeah. Anything different, Adrian?
No, I think we just really use like the different sort of demographics, really, because we target a lot more of the older demographics for more health conditions, really. So that's kind of what we do, and then we put that in for different areas. If we were looking to get a new wellness suite put in, we'd have to look at what area would have the higher population of older adults with different comorbidities on there. So the higher comorbidities they've got, they'll look at putting a new wellness suite in there. That's what we're trying to get on in the local area, really.
So well, hopefully you can sort of like look at all the different examples then, and then by using the National Health Surveys, you can track specific health conditions within the community then, can't you?
Yeah.
And like tackling, if you tackle it at the children, like you said, James, you hopefully instilling good practice in them when they're younger, aren't you? So this slide is about tools for monitoring health changes. So we're going to explore tools that can help monitor and measure your health outcomes. So tools include surveys, risk assessments, health screening, and then the best practice to focus on collecting the accurate, relevant data while maintaining confidentiality. So using these tools ensure you can track progress and measure the impact of interventions. By applying these tools effectively helps you achieve meaningful health outcomes. So what tools have you found most useful for tracking health changes? So what about you, Jamie and Adrian? You're sort of both in gymmy environments, aren't you? So what sort of things do you both use?
Well, we do a lot of blood pressure on there. Obviously do weight loss, we do weight loss on there. We do sometimes do segmental analysis as well, so you can see muscle mass to body fat ratios, obviously, and BMI, which obviously Jamie uses as well. We also do outcome measures on how people are feeling as well. So you do like a Borg scale on there, see how they're getting on with their daily activities, if they can improve on moving around, getting out, improving their activities daily. See if they can actually get in the garden, do a bit of gardening, things like that, really, because sometimes they wouldn't have been able to get out. And
something simple.
Again, a lot of Borg scales we tend to use on pain management as well.
How do you sort of store that data?
That'll be stored usually on a site. Any personal data is usually encrypted. It's just a need to know. Basically, you have to have a password to get onto it. On the usually on the SharePoint on there, so you'd have a password to get on it, and only certain people would get on it, and then you can analyze it how you need to, really, and then present that through to people you need to present it to.
Yeah. Anything different, Jamie?
Or in a lock cabinet when you fill them out forms.
Yeah, kind of similar. When someone comes into the centre, obviously we'll do an induction, and that involves blood pressure checks, just to make sure that they're able to, do exercise safely. And then we also do kind of refocus sessions. So if a member's been with us for a certain amount of time and they feel they want to come and kind of change their program, they can come to us, and then we can sort of reassess them, see where they're at, check their weight and things, and then change their targets if needed.
Yeah. Anything from you other two? Anything would you sort of like look at any health changes, Caitlin?
No, we don't really look at health changes. We would refer into other organisations for that.
Yeah.
Anything to do with like health or medical things like that, we're not really going to be looking at particularly. it's more about the social side.
We look at some mental health stuff. I mean, I know we've mentioned kind of webs before. We do some of that tracking for our adult programs. We've got a project at the moment that works with young people who are not needing kind of some additional support, but are showing maybe some signs that they are struggling within school, or kind of they're not attending as well as kind of the school want them to. So we use something called the Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire, which again is kind of really useful for kind of tracking some of those changes in teenagers' behaviour.
Yeah, good. Lovely. So we're gonna have a little look then at a breakout room. So I did send over the form this morning. Have you all got that, or shall I put it in the chat?
I've got one.
So we'll do the first scenario. So if I put it in the chat as well, have you all got a copy?
Yeah, I've got a copy.
Yeah. Put it in the chat. So what I'll do is I'll break you up into 2 rooms, and you can have a little look at that scenario, have a little discussion about it, and then we'll have about 10 minutes. Then I'll bring you back and we can discuss it. There we are. There we are. I'll just pop in and out. There we go.
Hi, Helen, you okay?
Hi. How was that?
Yeah, that was good. I think we covered quite a lot of bits
Lovely.
on there.
So, room one then is Adrian and Jamie. What did you sort of come up with?
Yeah, we come up with looking at what types of diabetes it is, whether it's pre-diabetic, type 2, type 1, what sort of demographic they are, age demographic, and then we put different things out there like questionnaire surveys, getting relevant information back on there as well, seeing what their nutrition's like, how active someone is as well in a day-to-day, looking at obviously if they're overweight as well, how that's going to affect with different comorbidities that diabetes might bring. Also, they might be a bit nervous about coming in to joining someone, so trying to link them with different groups and bringing friends down as well to come with them, having that support group around them. I don't know where I think I might have just started going off on a tangent a bit.
Anything else from you, Jamie?
I'm just trying to unmute my mic there. I'm just looking through the sheet and just seeing which bits Adrian's not covered. Yeah, I mean, we talked about how we'd ensure data is reliable and valid. It comes back to it is regularly updating your records. Yeah, I think, yeah, Adrian's answered it all there.
Yeah, we did check
Yeah.
on as well, looking at previous data from what levels diabetes was previously, checking relevant data now, and then looking again to do revisit in the future, just to make sure you got that. You can track the data, see whether it's going up or down.
Yeah, because they've changed their minds now, haven't they? And they've said, whereas before they used to say you can't, once you've got diabetes, that's it, you got it. But they've changed their minds now, haven't they? And you can actually reverse it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband did actually. He was I can't even remember what his markers was. They were terrible. And because we've both lost, well, I think he's done about 3.5, 4 stone. I've done 5.5. His markers have gone, I think he's lower than me now. So that's, turned it around. I think especially if he did his blood sugar levels, they used to be up, oh gosh, I can't remember, like 12s or something. I think he got them down to about, is it less than 5 now? Is a good score, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it's good. It's good to be able to work on it and be able to identify it and maybe change their diet habits and then get them to reverse the diabetes then.
Yeah.
What about, oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, sorry. No, we were saying about maybe looking at getting them into, maybe it'll probably be more one-to-one sessions, and then hopefully then from one-to-one sessions, get them into group sessions, looking at them, and boosting their confidence and mental health as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And making sure that they know how to manage their conditions as well. So that's what we're trying to look at.
Yeah. What about group 2 then, Caitlin and James? What did you sort of come up with?
We were talking for the data collection to see whether there's specific targeted areas that have maybe had diabetic screenings previously, and that's why it's kind of been highlighted in that area, whether it's related to age or the socio-economic factors within that demographic and that area. Say if people are on a low income, they can't afford to buy more nutritious food, they are buying the more sugary versions, and whether that contributes as well. And then James was talking about GP records and linking in with them about collecting that data and how that could maybe support and what that would look like.
Anything else from you, James?
Yeah, we also suspected that obviously there might have been an uptake in the reported levels because of the National Diabetes Prevention Programme. So we pulled that up on the NHS website, and obviously in terms of collecting kind of data, there's a few kind of risk factor questions that can be answered. So there's a tool on there that assesses your risk. You're entitled to a free NHS health check to assess your risk of diabetes type 2 in particular. And obviously there's kind of some support around some of that as well. There's a Healthier You program that's available face to face, and also a digital service as well. So the face-to-face group looks at helping manage weight, eating more healthy, being more physically active, and the digital support looks at things around wearable technologies, free apps where you can access health coaches, online support groups. So we suspected that, again, the increase might not necessarily just have been kind of anything around the local demographics. It might be because the awareness of the national program's been increasing.
Yeah, definitely. Lovely. So let's look at some examples in practice. So looking at real world examples of how data was used effectively. A local health team identified increasing obesity rates through a survey. Actions taken included nutrition workshops and physical activity programs, and the outcome was improved health metrics within 6 months. So this shows how targeted interventions based on data can lead to measurable improvements, and by using data effectively drives meaningful changes in health and well-being. Have you seen anything similar? Anyone? Never sort of looked at data as a whole and then maybe tried to put something in place?
We've looked at some kind of mental health data and put something in place, particularly around men. And we found a correlation between the number of men who had taken their own lives and rugby league towns, which wouldn't have been obvious on a national data set, but when we mapped it across the M62 corridor, we found a lot of those towns have high levels of unemployment, high levels of social deprivation, high levels of health inequalities generally. So when we started to look at kind of why, maybe some of the reasons behind that, obviously there's a correlation between mental health and financial kind of circumstances. Yeah. So again, we looked at that and thought, well, who are our local assets? Well, actually, rugby league clubs play an important role in bringing people together. So when we looked at our data, that then led us to another conversation to look at our data, and 84% of the people that came at the time to a rugby league game were men. So if you average that out to say we had 10,000 people at every single game, within the stadium at any one time, we'd have 8,400 people. So in terms of a captive audience and an influenceable group, where do you get 8,400 men kind of sat for 80 minutes, kind of 2 hours or so, and you can really start to talk about some of that health promotion messages. So that's kind of where we started with some of that national data, bringing it down to what ended up becoming a local project.
Yeah. Any sort of outcomes, any new data on it?
Yeah, loads of new data on it, funnily enough. That also helped us then look at kind of local areas. So Warrington's very, what's the word? Territorial. It's a huge town of about 214,000 people, but people that live in the areas don't tend to, unless they work or go out socially, they don't tend to kind of move around the different communities for different activities. They tend to stay where their home is. So we were then able to look and really drill down around some of the public health data and look at kind of areas where highest reports or appointments, with certain GPs were made, and around what. They wouldn't give us specifics, but they said this number of people every year come to us and talk to us about their mental health. So that enabled us to really hone in on kind of specific communities. And interestingly enough, quite a few of them are close or within walking distance to the stadium. So that then gave us a bit of ammunition to go out and ask our community what they'd like to see from a program, and what came back was they want a non-clinical space, and the stadium provides that as a great kind of environment, because it's not a traditional health service. It can offer health services, but it's not a GP surgery where you have to go in and you have to explain kind of your whole background to the receptionist. Actually, it was just, well, we're going to the stadium and nobody needs to know why.
Yeah, that's a good example in practice, actually, isn't it? Lovely. Let's move on to key steps then. So this slide outlines the steps for collating and analysing data effectively. So it should be identify reliable data sources, use appropriate tools to monitor the changes, and then analyse the trends to set priorities and make informed decisions. So hopefully by following these steps, you ensure your work is informed and impactful, and taking a structured approach to data management leads to a better outcome. So just to have a little summarise and reflection. So we've looked at data analysis, which are crucial for setting priorities and allocating resources, and best practice ensures accuracy, confidentiality when managing data. So the insight from today can directly enhance your way to approach data in your role. So reflecting on these principles will help you make evidence-based decisions that improve outcomes. Any questions about activity 22? No. To move on to activity 23. So this one is collecting and analysing data. And this one should cover the knowledge and skills of K33, 34, and then skills 33 and 34. So they sort of tie in with the knowledge, skills and behaviours, you know, from the skills scan. So this activity is going to build on the principles of data management, focusing on how data is used to evaluate projects. The key points are going to be understanding the importance of data protection and service evaluation, and explore methods for assessing the impacts of intervention. So the aims are to understand data protection and evaluate methods, and then the objectives are going to be to identify tools and use feedback to improve services while ensuring ethical data management. So the first one is types of evaluation methods. So you've got the quantitative and the qualitative. Does anyone know the difference between them?
Quantitative is numbers, qualitative is surveys and focus groups and feedback.
Exactly, yeah. So by combining these methods provides comprehensive insight and balanced assessments. So you can use a mixture of different methods to ensure a fuller picture. And then you can combine the qualitative and quantitative approaches to allow a more effective evaluation. Have you ever sort of used these before? These sort of different areas?
We use qualitative, and we do case studies and call reports every quarter. So it just kind of reports on what we've been doing, who we've been supporting, what has been notable that quarter, identifying any trends that have come from the people that we've supported, because we have to register 10 new people every month as one of our KPIs, and seeing if there's any trends in that, specifically whether there's a lot more young pregnant people needing white goods, or whether it's unemployment support that's on the rise and things like that. So we do those every quarter, and we have a case study of one particular person that we've supported and follows their journey and how intervention has made a positive impact.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But for quantitative, other than our KPIs, not really. We don't really do that. It just kind of, we get our sign-ups and we send them to our main system, and then that's it, really.
Anybody else sort of use these sort of types of methods?
Yeah, one particular project I have to combine both. So I have a workbook, and that project asks for numbers, bums on seats really, and how many qualifications the people that come onto that program achieve, how many come from the armed forces, how many are already registered with the GP, and then that's backed up with two forms of qualitative data. One is almost snapshot feedback, what people are saying in the sessions or conversations with our coaches, and then, as Caitlin said, we have to produce 2 case stories per quarter, which is a standard format, which basically says why that person came into the activity, what changes that we've seen them make, what changes they feel they've made, and if there's any changes that we've made to our delivery of that project as a result of their feedback.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Jamie? Would you use like surveys if you were looking at different, I don't know, different things you wanted to put out, class changes, anything like that? Would you sort of use like a sort of feedback form survey?
Yeah, so we would, if like you say, if we're looking at changing the class timetable, we'd ask members what they want really, and get an idea on if they want to see a new class or more of a certain class or less of a class, or even a time change, and then we obviously gather that together and go through it, and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you sort of do, Adrian?
Yeah, I suppose I use some of the quantitative data. So when we do measurements, so it might be range of motion through the shoulder on one of our functional fitness and rehabilitation classes, seeing how much movement they got in their shoulder, and checking on that range of motion on the angles. Working also on how many reps someone can do in a minute. Certain walks, it could be on their coming up and down. Could be working on their balance, how many reps they can do certain times, or how long they can stand on one leg. Looking also at the bend in a knee, so seeing if they've got that range of motion back, and also how many times they've come to the classes, seeing if how many people are attending the sessions we put them on. Make sure all the cohorts are in on that. That's what we do. We do surveys. Obviously, got, like I said before, we do bulk scales on how they're feeling as well. So
Yeah.
I'm also looking at how many people have attended, and if it's been well attended, and then we can put more classes on.
Yeah, good way of evaluating. Using the different evaluation methods, isn't it?
Yeah, we also do testimonials from the members as well. So looking at if they've achieved their goals or gone above them, seeing how they've done that, and also achieving goals they didn't even set themselves. They didn't think that they needed on there. So some people might come in and might not realise how it's affected their mental health on there, and how much they'd missed not coming to the one suite or the sessions really. So they had that as well, making the social impact on them as well, making new friends. And some people don't actually get to see anyone, they just sit at home all day, but then coming in, so you're helping them.
It's their sort of social side as well, isn't it? Yeah. Brilliant. So looking at then data protection and consent, so this should explain the key principles of data protection and gaining consent. So the key points are gaining consent, building trust, and which ensures transparency, and it's also ensuring that you follow the GDPR and organisational policies for ethical data management. So you clearly explain how data will be used and stored. So what sort of GDPR things have you got in place then? Have you got a policy?
It's basically we're not going to share any of anyone's information. It's only going to be relevant for delivering what sessions you need to deliver on there. So we follow that. So we're not going to share any of that. It's all secured on the system. If we need to send it back to someone, to a GP, we can refer back to the GP with their information on there, but we wouldn't go anywhere else because no one else needs to know about that. You wouldn't shout out anyone's information across the gym. So all the suites. You wouldn't leave it lying around on the desk, making sure keeping up on your GDPR CPR training on there as well. Also, we've got one of the places where we've got a GDPR department, so you have to follow stuff through on there. They come around and check everything regularly, make sure everything's been done properly. So that's just a GDPR area, pretty much, and making sure you are transparent with the people as well. Make sure that they're aware of what information you are collecting and why you need to collect it.
Yeah. Yeah, because back in the day, you would have had a list, wouldn't you? Back in the day, you'd have had a list for like a challenge or something. Can you just say, put your name and your email address on there, and you can win a prize, and you have it on the desk, and then anyone could pick up that piece of paper and take everyone's email addresses, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just making sure they know where the data's going, isn't it? Do you feel like there's any other challenges ensuring data protection and gaining consent?
No, most people are quite happy with giving information if they know what it's for, and as long as you're keeping it secure, they're fine with that.
What about yourself, Caitlin?
So we sometimes, I wouldn't say we run into issues because we've got protocols around it, but we support obviously a wide variety of people. Some people are housebound, they can't come out at all. And if we're going to go do a home visit, we obviously need 2 members of staff to go on it for our own safeguarding, for the person safeguarding. But that's not always available because our diaries get like booked up really quickly. And obviously we work in teams of 2, but my partner might be on something else and we can't book it in, but they may need like food support urgently. So it's not really one that can wait until next week when we've both got availability, but I can't go around on my own to gain that consent. So in that case, we're able to do like, we've got a consent form that we need to go through with them. And in that case, we're able to do it like over the phone. And then we send them an email or a text with our last page of consent to say, do you consent to all this? Are you happy with all this? And then they'll send the reply back, which we then print and attach to the form and give a reason as to why it had to be like over the phone consent, because they're housebound. We can't get a home visit put in, but they need support like right now.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of having those protocols in place to obviously cater to everyone who have like mobility difficulties or capacity needs.
So if you have to go and do a visit, is it always the same? You'll have to have 2 of you.
Yeah, there has to be 2 of us. I mean, it could be me and my partner, or it could be me and another agency worker if like they're linked in with, say, I don't know, like an eating disorder clinic or whatever. Me and the person supporting them in that clinic, we can go to a home visit, but it has to be 2 professionals. Go into it. It can't just be one of us by ourselves.
Yeah. Do you do many? Do you have to go out much?
I'd say maybe a third of our sign-ups are home visits, and then the rest are we meet them out in the community because that's what we're aiming to do: get them out and about, knowing what's there, accessing certain things, social supermarkets, community hubs, warm hubs, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So you're using simple consent forms, so it explains, isn't it, what, in plain language, what's going on, what they need.
Yeah.
Well, so we go into the breakout room. So I'll do the same. I'll copy that into the chat for you. Where's the chat gone? I'm going to see if I can mix it up a bit. Bear with me. There we are. There we go. So second one, so it should say slide 14 on your sheet. Have a little chat about that one. I'll give you 10 minutes and then I'll bring you back and we can discuss. Yep. Oh. Okay, so room 1 then was Caitlin and Adrian. What did you come up with?
Yeah.
We were, what were we talking about? We were discussing about how to balance the quantitative and the qualitative, be it obviously the number of people that were participating versus like if you're doing it in a workplace and there's 50 employees, but 5 of them showed up, but only actually 5 of them were in the building at 1 p.m. But at 3 p.m. like 35 are in the building. Looking at that and kind of seeing the numbers scheme of when's going to be the most beneficial to put like the support in place and to put the wellbeing program in place, and then getting the feedback on the people that did attend as to what was good, what wasn't good, in order to put towards the wider group to say this is what worked well, but what do you want to see, and things like that.
Perfect. Anything to add, Adrian?
Yeah, so it was obviously times of the days on there. We had different ways of seeing someone as well. So it might be that if you're talking about mental health, people might have that stigma, or I don't need to go and see, so I don't want to go see someone everyone's going to know. So like I said, we have mental health first aiders, one of our places of that work, and you can come in and speak to HR, and then they can put you in touch with one of the mental health first aiders. You just go into a little room, go out for a breakout session, and then you're having a chat with them. So it's no one else knows you're going to see them. It's all confidential. So there's that way of having that person to come in and do that. So coming back from the feedback on there from the surveys, if that was what they felt that they couldn't go in because of that stigma, and build that trust. Towards feedback. Yeah. Cool. I think that was that on that bit. I don't want to go too far ahead.
And what about room 2, James and Jamie?
Yeah, we spoke a lot around kind of what the reasons why kind of you asked for feedback, because one of the things I mentioned, we've done a staff survey in the last kind of month or so, and by all accounts there was quite a good response rate. There was 100% response rate, which is quite positive. But I've got people coming up to me now and saying, well, kind of we're 5 weeks down the line, what's happening? So I guess it's around how you communicate back that information, both internally and also if you're working externally. If people are taking the time to kind of give you their feedback, their opinions, or their thoughts, it's kind of, I guess, keep valuing them. So I mentioned to Jamie, and Jamie had an example around the football team that he coaches with his son, was around sometimes we have to also be realistic with the expectations. So there might be some things that we can absolutely implement straight away, and we should do if we can. Some things might take a little bit of time or a little bit of thinking, or we might need to create a new policy with some of that. And actually some of the things just might not be possible at all. But I think we need to tell people that as well, so that they're not kind of waiting for us to do something and in a year's time. So, well, we said, why don't you add a new changing room to this building? Well, we've never been able to do it because we can't afford it. Well, why didn't you tell us that then? And it's those type of things, I think, that keep people bought in to continually improving the service. Talked about this you said we did type kind of approach, where you communicate that to people and said, well, these are the themes of the feedback. We can do this, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is a deadline, so it keeps you accountable. But actually we can't do these. It's not within our wheelhouse to do. Yeah,
definitely. It's balancing the methods as well, isn't it, and how you can get that information. Yeah, bro. Anything to add, Caitlin? No, sorry, Jamie. I was going to say different group. Excuse you, but you're next to each other on my computer.
Yeah, no. Just trying to think. Oh yeah, what James said about my example of the football team that you said we did thing is I thought was really good, because it kind of just it gives them kind of like a feeling that you're actually trying to do things for them. So the example I gave around the football team was we generally send out kind of surveys halfway through the season to kind of get a feel for how parents are feeling about their child's involvement in the team, if they're enjoying it, if they feel like they're progressing. And yeah, we get plenty of feedback from that. And
good
kind
and
of,
bad, I expect.
Yeah, good and bad. and we just ask it to be constructive, you know, because we are volunteers and things like that. So, and the parents are brilliant. And of course, we'll get all that data back. Most parents will fill it out because they're invested in their son or daughter. And of course, we'll look at that and think, well, we can't do that. That's impossible because, you know, we haven't got enough hours in the day to do that. You know, we only generally have them for an hour and a half a week. So yeah, it kind of, you kind of get an idea on what you can and can't do, and then you bring it back to them and let them know, and usually they're quite happy with that.
Yeah, good. We'll have to share some tips then, because I coach my daughter's football team.
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
To be honest, last week's training session was brilliant, and they did brilliant on the weekend, but we're still under 11, so that we're not competitive yet.
We're 13s now, so yeah, we had quite a competitive one Sunday just gone.
Did they win?
No, they didn't.
No.
But
Never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, I think we drew because we still do the 20-minute games. We go between different teams.
35 minutes each way now for us. Yeah.
So I think we drew 2 and won 1, I think.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
brilliant. So let's have a little look at then some examples in practice. So how feedback-driven changes can improve services. So a feedback survey revealed programmed timing was limiting participation. So the action taken was to adjust the schedules and add virtual options. And then the outcome was increased attendance and positive feedback. So this example shows how evaluation can directly inform improvements. And then by acting on the feedback, you can enhance the impact and accessibility of interventions. Have you seen sort of similar results from acting on your own feedback? Or changing the way you do it? I suppose the way you did your, maybe not so much feedback for you, Caitlin, but when you sort of do them over the phone because you can't get out there, I suppose that sort of helps and you get a lot more done.
Yeah, it definitely speeds up the process and helps us to support community members, especially if they decide to call at like 3 p.m. on a Friday and tell us that they have, like, you know, no food in the cupboards and things like that. So it does help kind of like, obviously, other than arranging to meet them face to face and then kind of go all the way around the world to get it for them, it does make it easier. Just to be like, okay, well, we can do it this way and then we can get it to you quicker. While still maintaining GDPR and getting your consent and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else sort of got any examples of how they might have acted on feedback?
Yeah, when we send out our class surveys, you know, it might come back that there's a certain percentage of members that don't like or find a certain time convenient to them.
Yeah.
You know, a good example is we do a spin class at 5:30, and there are quite a few people that can't get to that because they're still stuck in traffic at that time. So we've moved it to 5:45, and it just gives them that little bit more time to get there, because a lot of people just come straight from work, get into the class, and then go home. So that's a good example there that we've done.
Yeah, especially for the spin a lot. They're usually very protective of the spin class, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I'm one of the instructors, so I get it in the neck if it's not right.
Yeah. Got to be stum, haven't you? Well, so if we just move on then to key steps. So For conducting a successful evaluation, we need to gather the feedback from the service users, use tools to measure it effectively, and then address any issues through targeted improvements, and then we can monitor the outcomes. So these steps provide a clear framework for evaluating and refining your services. So by following these steps ensures continuous improvement to service delivery. Anyone sort of find any challenges in gathering feedback for evaluation?
I mentioned before around almost digital fatigue. Me and Jamie were talking about uptake levels of surveys when we send them out digitally. I've found that a couple of things that have worked and got a higher increase is making sure that kind of you complete the surveys with the people, obviously not for them, but with them. So again, spending some time before a session or after a session, making sure there's Wi-Fi for a lot of people, giving them the link and obviously working it through with them, or giving them an alternative paper copy sometimes, and actually getting them to fill it out in front of you. So again, they can't not fill it out then. Or the other thing we found is sometimes useful is a bit of incentivization. Things like match tickets for the rugby sometimes help. So that kind of always helps. But yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of programs where you send it out on an email or send it out on a WhatsApp group, and people, you can see people have seen it, they've read it, but me and Jamie were talking about how many emails you receive from various companies now asking you to, how was your experience at Tesco, or rate your Amazon product that you've just bought for £2. It's you kind of go, well, actually, what am I getting out of it? Why am I doing it? And if you do have time and you catch people at the right moment and they've got time to do it, then great. But life's not like that. They might be dropping kids off, or they might be in work, and I'll get around to that later. And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. So let's have a little look at summarising and reflection. So this summary reflects on how project evaluation supports service improvement and endpoint preparation. So evaluating identify strengths and areas for improvement. Feedback drives meaningful changes in service delivery. So we should be able to reflect on how you can integrate evaluation methods into practice, and then effective evaluation ensures interventions meet their goals and align with what you want for the outcome to be, I suppose. Any questions on activity 23? Nope. Do you want to have a quick coffee break? Yeah, go for it. We'll have 10 minutes. I'll see you back about 25 past. I realised I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at the year, not the time when I said see you at 25 past.
Brilliant. Sorry, I'm just having a biscuit.
I looked and I thought, oh, it's like 10 to 10. Where did I get 25 past from? And I went, I looked at the date. That's funny, actually. A survey's just come through the door for Transport for Wales. And if I fill it in, I'll get a £10 Love to Shop voucher.
Oh, there we go.
Because they've just made the train station more accessible in Pontypool. So that's good, because when I go to head office or, travel for work, I tend to use a train. It's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot easier.
I try to do work, but you can never do work because you can never log on or get any Wi-Fi. So I have to do bits that you don't need Wi-Fi for, which isn't a lot these days, is it?
No,
You tend to need Wi-Fi for everything, don't you?
I know. It's, way of the world. I tell you what, Helen, if you've got time later, watch the Gareth Southgate lecture on the BBC iPlayer.
Okay.
Really interesting about men and boys.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
That's good.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it quickly. I'll put it in the chat so everyone can have a
You
look.
can link that into one of your duties, probably.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, because I suppose there was a lot of stuff around Gary Speed, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was a bit, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a bit. Wow, it's very sad. But when you saw it, because he was on the telly, wasn't he? Like the day before.
Yeah.
And
yeah, frightening.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't look right though, did he?
When you look back at it, no, probably not.
No.
But at the time, you wouldn't have known any different.
No.
There we go. I'll put it in there now.
Oh, lovely. I'll have a look at that.
Have a watch of that later if you get time.
So I realised I was looking at the wrong thing when I said see you at 25 past. Lovely, all refreshed. So last one then is activity 24. So we'll go over 24, same principles as the last ones, and then we'll have a little look at duty 9. So activity 24 is contributing to project evaluation. So the activity should focus on presenting and communicating findings effectively to stakeholders and decision makers. The key points then are to develop skills to present data clearly and effectively and learn methods to share outcomes that inspire actions. So the aims are to develop skills for presenting data and findings effectively, explore methods to share outcomes with stakeholders and decision makers. And then the objectives are to use data visualization tools to communicate findings and present evidence in a way that informs and inspires action. So the first one is presenting data effectively. We're going to focus on techniques to ensure your data is understood and actionable. We're going to highlight findings and use accessible language, tailor your message to your audience and ensure accuracy, transparency in your presentation. So presenting clear data ensures that your insights are easily understood and acted upon, and effective communication bridges the gap between data analysis and decision making. So what sort of challenges do you face when you sort of look at data, presenting it to different people?
Well, one of the ones for me is it can lose the personal touch. You're presenting sometimes data across a whole town, but that sometimes doesn't really tell the true picture of what's going on in somebody's life. We had a poverty conference in Warrington about a month ago now, and we all get the data. We'll get sent that, all the relevant kind of organisations, charities in the town. But actually, kind of what brought it to life was kind of being in the room and somebody explaining kind of their situation within that data. So there was a gentleman that talked about kind of how he'd been made redundant and he now relying on food banks. And then they played an audio clip of a lady that's been looking for a suitable house for her neurodivergent children and herself. She was a victim herself of domestic violence, and she's been bounced around the system for 3 years and still not found suitable accommodation. Some of the accommodation they put her in is is damp or is in some very kind of dangerous areas of the community. So yeah, that's one of the challenges presenting some of that data back, is how do you keep the person at the center of some of those discussions?
Yeah, definitely. Anyone want to elaborate on that a little bit more, or got any other examples? How do you feel like you tailor your message to different audiences then?
I don't know if it counts, but when we look to support people and like provide information about like different like routes and things that they can access and how they've accessed it, it is all, as James said, on a more personal level. We look to more like the person-centered thing, and we're chatting to those individuals. We do feedback Fridays where our admin or our team leaders will phone the people that we're actively working with and get their feedback directly, and then we share that on our social medias, and then that goes into our big generalized reporting that we have to send off to obviously our funders to say this intervention is working. Here are real life stories of people that we're actively working with now. Yeah, and that's kind of how we display it to stakeholders and commissioners and things like that, that it does have value.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose Adrian and Jamie, yours might be, do you do would you do like a group induction, a group session, like in when when you have new people starting?
It's generally individual, but
Okay.
sometimes you would get you might get a family or a husband and wife, something like that, that would prefer to do it together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very rare that we do that, but yeah, we have done it.
What about yourself, Adrian? Oh, you're on mute.
So that's why I didn't hear me last time. Yeah, so yeah, we do both group and individual sessions. Sometimes you have partners come in on there as well, so we get that coming
How do you
round.
find it if you have a group session and they're not they don't know each other? How do you sort of use
just,
techniques?
Just start talking and ask questions, and then start a conversation, and other people start joining in conversations, get everyone involved, really, make them all welcome, friendly. But also with our suite, where it's quite a friendly group as well. So they come in and they intergroup, they go round with each other as well, and they start talking to each other because they're all facing each other as well. So you make sure that we try to alleviate any barriers as well. And if they don't want to talk, they probably won't talk, but breaking the ice, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, get them in. And it might take a couple. Sometimes you do revisits on a couple of sessions. On this, if we do our rehab classes on lower limb, they'll come in and they won't know each other. All been sent in from the NHS. Just come down on our MSK class and then start talking to them, going around, and yeah, really, that's it, really.
Yeah. What do you do if you find that some of them might need a more personal approach?
Just go more one-on-one with them if you need to. Just maybe book them in on a one-to-one session if they feel that they're not getting the benefit from the class. You just reevaluate it in one. And then obviously get their feedback at the end of the session. See how they get the whole group collective, and then if anyone wants to come up at the end, you can talk to them at the end and see how you can improve. Really.
Yeah, if feedback's always good, isn't it?
Yeah. We do get a lot of feedback and testimonials as well.
Yeah.
And we send that out into the local community, so they'll put it into like a magazine on there. One's come through today as well from 2 of our members. So as I went for my break, tell them about their achievements, and then puts through obviously what they can achieve and get more people involved.
Well, so looking at like data visualization tools then.
Yeah.
So tools that help make your data more engaging and easy to understand. The key points then would be sort of looking at examples, including graphs, charts, tables, infographics, use visuals or to emphasize key trends and simplify complex data, keep designs clear and uncluttered for a better impact. So that might be having visualizations up in the workplace, or being able to give out leaflets to clients that you might have, or people that might come to you. Sharing visual tools can transform a complex insight. So some people are more visual, aren't they? So if they've got a little leaflet that they can look at, it might be better for them than loads of reading or loads of data on a sheet. So what sort of visual tools do you sort of use that you might give out to people, and how effective do you think they are?
We have leaflets that we take to all of our drop-ins, and we do like door knocking as well. So we'll always put a leaflet through someone's door, and it just kind of has a breakdown of the services we provide, feedback, testimonials about people that we've helped. And we've got a couple of different other projects like Sparks Funds, where people can apply for little small grants and things like that. And it just kind of breaks it down with like imagery and things like that. And contact numbers are really like easily displayed and stuff. And it's just kind of, it's got like a big picture of the world on the front, so people know exactly who can access it and things like that.
Yeah.
So we use leaflets quite a lot, and like big banners and stuff like that.
So would you, when you do the door knocking, would you actually talk to people, or would you just put the leaflet through the door?
No, we talk to people, we knock on, and obviously if they don't answer, we put a leaflet through. But if they do answer, we have a chat with them and say, look, we're community connectors, where this is what we do. If it's not for yourself, like if there's anyone else you know, we can help with XYZ. And sometimes people have got like loads and on the doorstep that they're like, well, all this has happened and all this has happened. So then we'll arrange to have like a deeper conversation, like the next day or something like that, or later in the week, and sign up to the project. And then other people, they're just like, oh, well, my cousin is looking to get back into work, so they'll just take the leaflet and pass it on to them.
Yeah. Do you find people don't realise that you're about then with all the support?
Some people don't, but like
sorry, someone was trying to call me again.
Some people do. We knock on doors, and then some people are like, oh yeah, no, I know you. You guys are in the orange and things like that. So it's a mixture.
Sorry, everyone keeps phoning me. I don't know why, because my thing says I'm, presenting. Hang on, there we go. Were you saying anything then, Caitlin? Sorry.
I was just saying that some people know about us, and then others don't know about us. It depends on the area, really. Like Central Birkenhead, they know quite a lot about us because it's Central Birkenhead, and there's loads of like assets and organisations there. But in other areas, like maybe West Wirral, they're not as familiar with us, just because there's less need there to a degree, or a different kind of need, and it's a bit more insular.
Has anyone else got like that sort of support within their area? I don't think we have. We have like Flying Start, so that's more for like young families, where they'll get some support for a bit of childcare, or I think it's food vouchers, stuff like that. Any other sort of support that you might have in your areas?
We have care and repair for some of the older people that might not be able to put up disabled barriers. They might need help with doing flat packing, stuff like that, really. So we can signpost them to those if they're struggling with certain things at home, doing odd jobs at home. You can get them discounted rates, or some free rates to put them in for free. That's kind of some of our people.
Yeah, it's good to know what's out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's available for everyone. So we've got another breakout room. So this is the last breakout room. Let me find it. In the chat. There we go. So I'll try and mix you up again. Where's my rooms gone? Oh, it won't let me do it, will it? See if I can shuffle them again. There we go. There we go. So last one. And I'll bring you back in about 10 minutes. Welcome back. So we'll go, Jamie and James, what did you come up with?
Well, we talked a lot about kind of understanding who your audience is, really. So again, in terms of those stakeholders, not being too heavy on statistics, obviously kind of maybe introducing a few, but again, kind of making sure that it's relevant to the people that are in the room. We also kind of looked at different ways of presenting that information. So could some of it be done with graphs, some of it done with pictures, some of it done with quotes, maybe a video outlining some of the findings. And then we talked a lot about kind of making sure people can go away with something. So we talked about maybe some headline infographics that people could, even though we live in a more of a digital world, people still like a physical piece of paper to hold, so they could go away and maybe give a snapshot to their teams if they're going back into their other workplaces. And again, part of that is kind of putting the key headlines in, but making it visually attractive as well. And then Jamie spoke a lot about kind of making sure that the language is correct, not being too technical, not too much jargon, making sure that it's pitched at the right level for the audience. If it's a young audience, if it's a professional audience, if it's a mixture, making sure that there's something there that weaves into everyone, and also finding out why those stakeholders are there. Are they there because it's a free cup of coffee and a biscuit, or are they there because they've got a genuine interest in kind of what the findings are? And if so, then if they have got a genuine interest, well, what are you asking them to do after you present the information back?
Yeah, definitely. Anything to add, Jamie?
No, that's yeah. Really well. Yeah, sums it all up.
What about the other room then, Adrian and Caitlin? What did you come up with?
Yeah, we were looking at making sure the data was relevant, obviously for the people in the room, making sure that the outcomes measures are right, whether it's for attendance of classes, or it might be for P&Ls. If you're hitting your P&Ls, you're not hitting your P&Ls. Why aren't you hitting your P&Ls? Kate was saying she's got a traffic light system, so she might have signed 8 people up, but then those 8 people were really intense. The quality of working for those 8 were great. The other 2 you might have missed, might not have needed that help, but will help into that one. So that's why it's come out. Did I cover that bit right, Caitlin?
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like displaying that even if you haven't hit your target, say if your target's a 10 and you get 8, but it's like, as Adrian said, really intense work with them, that's actually more valuable than if you had hit the 10, but it's not as intensive. Obviously, those people still need support, but if you can justify that, like, okay, my time was put towards really supporting 8 rather than moderately supporting 10, you can kind of justify why the traffic light is amber rather than green.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
So we said also with P&Ls, you may not be hitting your P&Ls with maybe sign-ups from a class into memberships, but then they might coming in and you might be getting the secondary spend in, say, the coffee shop on there, or in other areas of the business they're coming in, and they might regularly meet up every week in the social aspect from that. And just making sure that you've got that back as well. So improving the social side of it. So that's help with the outcomes. Obviously, improving productivity in whatever it might be. So in the workplace, it could be an incentive for the workplace. Has it improved productivity? Has it improved staff attendance, less sick days, stuff like that? We hit targets and awareness of increasing from the baseline on this. So you've got your baseline, but you are projecting for the future. So you can say, yeah, we may not be hitting it so far this time, but in 6 months we are hopefully going to be on target. We're ahead or behind. So you can get a projection.
Yeah, good, brilliant. So we'll have a little look at some examples in practice. So here's an example of how data was effectively communicated to drive an action. So a wellbeing programme shared results through the infographics and a presentation. The key success highlighted including increased participation rates, and the outcome was the stakeholders were engaged and support in scaling the programme. This example should show the power of presenting data in an engaging way to inspire actions. So clear communication can strengthen and support and drive programme expansions. So what would you highlight if you were presenting a similar data? 2 seconds, my door's just gone. Oh no. Okay. Sorry if you can hear him barking. So what would you maybe highlight if you're presenting similar data, do you think?
Guess any key trends, if you've got the opportunity to look back and see if that data has been collected before, Is there anything that's a significant change? And maybe look at kind of explaining why some of those things might have happened. Obviously, it's not always an exact science, but me and Kate were talking before about the diabetes program. There might be an increase in the number of people with diabetes because they're now getting tested more because they're aware of a free program. So again, where there is an established cause for that change, actually making sure you reference it, because again, people might then go away thinking, well, why is that? We don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think there's any tools then that can be used then to showcase the impacts effectively? So like where you just said, you know, with the diabetes, it might just be that people know more. Any sort of ways of showing that in the data, do you think?
I think individuals can say, if there's a quote, for example, around kind of the impact that program's had on somebody, a survey, potentially some survey results, or kind of some I guess some quotes from professionals saying about how they've had conversations about kind of a particular project or a particular program, and again, it's not just necessarily always about the people it benefits. It's around, me and Caitlin talked a lot before around making sure the people that have got those relationships with the people that we're trying to benefit are equipped with the right information at the right times.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone got anything to add? No?
I think most things were covered.
Yeah, definitely. Okie dokie. So moving on to the key steps then. So we've got these steps to effectively communicate your findings. So identify the key insights and findings to share. Select the best tools to visualize and present your data. Tailor your message to the audience needs, and then ensure accuracy, clarity, and relevance in your presentation. So by following these steps, you can ensure your data inspires action and informs decisions. And effective communications of finding is essential for stakeholder engagement. So have a little bit of a reflection. So how communications of findings contribute to your role. Communication findings ensure data is understood and actionable, and data visualization simplifies complex information and engages stakeholders. So you should be able to reflect on how you use these tools and techniques to enhance your practice. And then hopefully strong communication skills are essential then for both professional and success. Any questions on, I think, I can't remember what activity that was, 24?
No.
Nope. Lovely. So the last bit then is looking at duty 8, which is managing data and information. So you can use then everything you've learned from activities 22 to 24 to help you do the duty 4, duty 8. I think this is a little short one. So you've got three steps. You've got monitor and measure health and wellbeing outcomes. So you're going to identify and describe at least 2 recognised tools, so which could be surveys, health risk assessments, to give you an example, for use for monitoring health and wellbeing, and then explain how these tools were used to collect data by both the individual and maybe a community level. 2, you're going to do data analysis and prioritisation, and then real life workplace examples. There might be more. Or is there? Let's have a little look at the last bit. It's in 2 sections, I think, this one. Yeah. So you've got the second part of it then. So section 2, that's going to evaluate the impact and effectiveness of services. So you're going to look at data utilization for evaluation. You're going to evaluate these techniques, and then you're going to do a case study. So this case study could go into your case studies then, where we have to do for your PD agenda as part of your endpoint assessment. So this case study could be used in that one. So if you want to look at one of the case studies and see how it's set up, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. So if you need any more information on that one, just let me know and we can go over it. Hopefully then by the end, you're gonna be able to show that you can monitor and evaluate data to ensure services are met and they meet their objectives, communicate your findings effectively, and then reflect on how these skills enhance your role. Suggested evidence is going to be documenting and collecting and analysing of data, examples of the tools that you've used, your case study, and then some feedback from either colleagues or anybody you can get some feedback from. Any questions on duty 8? No? Any questions on any of the duties that you're doing so far? Have anyone like a bit stuck on any of them, or you're all right? Feeling all right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just need to go back through some of the bits, but other than that, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. If you do have any questions about them or got anything to sort of ask about them, just let me know straight away and I can either book in a call or I can send you some information or we can just have a telephone call, quick chat, whichever's needed. I've got WhatsApp on my laptop now, so that's quite quick. If you want to WhatsApp, it comes straight through, or email if you want a bit more information. Whichever's easier for you, rather than message on the actual bud, because if I go on it and then something happens, I don't know where that message was. It doesn't tell me unless I actually go in and find that activity. I'll stop the recording there.